Hey YouTubers, if you like what you hear, make sure you click that subscribe button right below. Today we're going to break down the NFC West from a fantasy perspective. So crack a cold one and enjoy.
In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
All my Hill City peeps know at the end of the dirt road with a bonfire, drinking that Malibu and having some of those beers.
Strawberry Hill City.
We're all trapped in the Matrix.
It'd be like comparing Fleury to Carlson. It'd be like comparing Aaron Rodgers to Jerry Rice.
Or apples to oranges.
Or apples to oranges. Or non-GMO foods to GMO foods.
Organic food to
Non-organic. I said boom, boom, boom. Now I said way-oh.
Hey-o! 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. We're here at Triple Coverage Podcast, and as we've said in the past episodes, we are here without our boy Travis. So it's a Double Coverage Podcast today.
That's just enough. Double covered, it's just enough. The triple will be a little bit better, but we're going to try and get you covered here with double.
And he said he hated the NFC West so much that he's like, I don't even want to be there for that episode.
Yeah.
He's like, the NFC West can take a hike.
Yeah.
So we decided that we're going to break down the NFC West today because Travis hates it so much.
Let's do it. You want to start at the top?
Let's go right in alphabetical order.
Okay, let's do it.
How about that? Instead of going by order we think they're going to finish in.
I will have a prediction of where I think they're going to finish, though.
I will too.
Okay, so
All right.
first off is who? Arizona Cardinals looks like.
Arizona Cardinals. I actually like what they did in draft.
Okay.
They had a few key pieces that will help them.
Mm-hmm.
I think their defense is going to struggle a little bit, but we're here to talk about fantasy football and their relevance. So let's start with the quarterback. If Sam Bradford can make it through the preseason without getting hurt,
He'll be the starter.
he will be the starter. They gave him somewhere in the upwards of $20 million for 1 year.
He's made the most of probably any other quarterback. I bet you if you looked it up, he's probably the highest paid quarterback. Grossing. And he still has a couple years left, which is scary. So that
If I was him, I would just keep signing a 1 year deal everywhere for $20 million.
Yeah, and then be the backup by halfway through the
Yeah,
season.
who cares?
So yeah, so Sam Bradford technically right now is the starting quarterback. You have Josh Rosen, who they drafted pretty high up in the first round there to be his kind of guy that comes in after either Bradford gets hurt or he doesn't pan out. So if you're drafting one in Dynasty, obviously you're drafting Josh Rosen, but in a redraft league, do you stay away from both, or do you draft Bradford and not Rosen?
I think if you're in a redraft league, you obviously are going to have Bradford as your quarterback 2. He's not going to be anywhere near a quarterback 1
See, I
status.
think he's a quarterback stream that doesn't get drafted.
Which is
and then
fine.
He has a good matchup. You wait to see what he does the first few weeks, and then you kind of plug him in.
You guys, you got to look. Everyone has their own philosophy, and some people's philosophy is if you get a quarterback and you have a solid quarterback 1, you don't even draft a backup because there's so many options to stream, especially if it's a 12-team league because there's going to only be, at the very most, probably 18 quarterbacks gone. You can always find somebody to stream with a good matchup.
I agree. So moving on to the running back position, David Johnson, clear-cut number 1 guy. He's a top 4 at the worst-case scenario. Missed almost the entire season last year. I think he got hurt week 1 or week 2, whatever it was.
Right.
But it wasn't a knee injury. It wasn't a foot, ankle. It
Not
was
a hamstring.
It was his wrist.
His wrist, yep.
So, broken wrist, or fractured wrist, I think it was. He's had now an entire year plus to recover. He's going to be completely fine week 1. He's going to be rejuvenated. Hopefully he's fresh. And he's going to be getting a lot of targets and a lot of carries because if you look at the rest of their offense, there's not much more after him that scares anybody. So I don't know if that's good for him or bad for him. He's going to get the targets, he's going to get the touches, but are they just going to key on David Johnson?
I think they're going to key on David Johnson, but you got to remember, they still have Larry Fitzgerald there. And
Right.
while other teams may have like rookies coming in, and you're saying, well, I'm not really scared of that, Larry Fitzgerald is still going to command the targets he's been commanding the last couple of years, and he's going to have Bradford from the start, and Bradford is very accurate. So Bradford to Fitzgerald is going to be very key this year, so I think that you're not going to be able to load up against the box on David Johnson, because as long as you have Larry Fitzgerald there, you have something.
They double team Larry Fitzgerald.
If they double team Larry Fitzgerald, that to me is going to open it wide open for Christian Kirk, or it's going to open it open for J.J. Nelson or Chad Williams even to step up. They just added Bryce Butler, which I thought was a good addition for them. They have guys behind him.
Well, okay, before we move
No
on,
one you're scared
before
of.
we go to wide receiver, is there anybody, who's the backup? David Johnson, let's say, goes down, God forbid, for a second year, he's hurt for the entire season, or just in general, who is the number 2 behind him? Because they drafted Chase Edmonds, but they also had DJ Foster there last year.
Mm-hmm.
They had TJ Logan there last year, who also missed the entire season.
And they still have Elijah Penny.
And they still have Elijah Penny. So How's this shake down in your opinion?
Should we start calling him Rashad Penny's brother?
Yes.
Or because Elijah's older, we call him just Elijah?
No, he's Rashad Penny's brother already.
That sucks for him. I feel bad for him. Anyways, I think it's committee city if David Johnson goes down. When I think Chase Edmonds is going to be the one getting.
Me too. I like
bulk of it, but I think it's going to be committee.
So if David Johnson does not go down, who's the second highest scoring running back fantasy wise in that bunch? Chase Edmonds, DJ Foster, TJ Logan, Elijah Penny. I think it's Chase Edmonds.
I still think it's Chase Edmonds, but he's not going to be relevant if David Johnson doesn't go down.
Only way it's Elijah Penny is if Elijah Penny snipes a couple of touchdowns and vultures a couple of goal line TDs away from David Johnson. Happening. But yeah, as far as fantasy relevance is like receptions and carries, I like Chase Edmonds. Now we can move on to wide receiver. You mentioned Larry Fitzgerald. Mm-hmm. He's been a top 5 guy, catches over 100 balls every season. Don't know why he keeps saying he's going to retire when he's still at the top of his game, it seems like, and he's not going anywhere. He doesn't get hurt. He never misses games.
Especially since Arians, who's now gone from the coaching staff. So Arians moved him over to slot, which he was kind of resistant to, but it's completely revamped his career.
Yeah.
Like, he's made a living out of slot last couple seasons, and I think that's where he's going to be best suited, is in the slot, and be that little safety valve for Sam Bradford, or even when Josh Rosen comes in. A lot of people say that when you have a young quarterback that comes into the league, his best friend is a tight end. He has Ricky Seals-Jones there, but I think that Fitzgerald's going to be his go-to guy.
Yeah, I think Fitzgerald, but as far as the number 2, that's up in the air. Again, it's like this whole Arizona offense is kind of going to tell a lot during training camp and preseason to me, because you have Christian Kirk, you have J.J. Nelson, and you have Bryce Butler. You also have Chad Williams. So those 4 guys are going to be the 4 guys fighting for the 2, 3, and 4 slot. Somebody's going to be the odd man out there, and I think the odd man out for me is Chad Williams. I think Bryce Butler can be the long ball guy. Christian Kirk's going to play opposite side of Larry Fitzgerald. J.J. Nelson can kind of do the same. So the odd man out for me is Chad Williams.
Yeah, I think that they're going to run a lot of 11 personnel because they only have one decent tight end who's not even a great tight end.
What about Jermaine Gresham?
And you're going to, I don't really see Gresham doing a whole lot. I think he's going to be out there to block. When they run the 12 personnel, he'll be out there to block for them. But in my opinion, they're going to run a lot of 3 receiver sets. So you're going to have Fitzgerald, Nelson, and Christian Kirk out there. And I think that Bryce Butler will be mixed in there as well.
Okay. So tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones, Jermaine Gresham. Neither one of them moves the needle for me. Ricky Jones is completely touchdown dependent. So I don't know how he's going to fit into this offense. I mean, he's going to get drafted in redraft leagues, but as far as fantasy relevance, tight end wise, he's not going to finish, top 10, top 12?
Yeah.
Maybe later than that.
I'm not super high on tight ends, but I don't see him finishing in the top 12.
All right, let's move on.
Let's move on to the Los Angeles Rams.
Mm-hmm.
This is the team that's fully loaded.
Wait, where do you see Arizona finishing record wise?
I don't know. I don't have an exact number for a record, but I do see them finishing in last place in this division.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I also have them finishing last place at 5-11. They have the 8th hardest opposing schedule going against, at the 8th. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be easy for them. It's not like they have an easy schedule and like they can squeak in a couple of wins. I went through their entire schedule, all 17 weeks, and I couldn't give them more than 5. And 5 was sketchy. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe 5. And that's if they win a couple of games on the road against good teams. So it could be even worse than that, but...
Well, they lost the Honey Badger on defense.
I know.
Tyrann Mathieu's gone, so their defense is not depleted, but it's not as strong as it was last year or the year before. So, in my opinion, they're probably going to be down a lot, which is actually good for fantasy because I'll take garbage time with guys that are accurate, like Sam Bradford, and you got David Johnson, you got Larry Fitzgerald, because they'll throw David Johnson too. So, I'll take garbage time for them.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, sorry.
Move on to Los Angeles Rams. Starting off a quarterback, you have the one and only Jared Goff.
Didn't do anything his rookie season. All of a sudden looks like a world beater last year.
Once they got Jeff Fisher out of the building, beat it.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to say, but I mean, once they moved on from Jeff Fisher, it was almost like a load was just lifted off their shoulders, and everyone started playing better and getting coached better.
I think McVay's a better coach.
Oh, for sure. McVay's a great offensive-minded coach as well, and they just added so much to their defense that,
loaded.
To me, it's going to be Jared Goff is not going to have to be a superstar. All he has to do is maintain the lead, give the ball to Todd Gurley early and often, but if they have to throw, the pieces are there too. So you have Jared Goff, who I love this year in fantasy, in redraft leagues, and in Dynasty. I love him. But Todd Gurley, top 2 running back, guaranteed. Not guaranteed, obviously injury, but talent-wise.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you. So Todd Gurley had a phenomenal season last season. He was by far and away the best running back in the entire NFL last season, especially from a fantasy perspective. Can he improve on that? Because I don't think he can improve on that.
No, we've seen his ceiling, but his ceiling is the number 1.
But here's the thing.
You can't go higher than number 1.
With the Rams defense the way it is, And if no one gets injured, obviously, in preseason, they are loaded, especially on that front seven. You're not going to be able to run against them. And I don't think you're going to be able to throw very much against the Rams either.
Correct.
So if they have the lead in every game, or a majority of the games, they're going to be killing the clock with Gurley, right? So
No, that's the thing. They might. But what if they're like heavily ahead? They're playing teams like Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers in their division. Like they have a couple of weak games during the year. And to me, let's say you're up by 14, you're up by 17 in that range. Do you really put Gurley out there in the third and the fourth quarter and give him another 15 touches and risk injury and all that kind of stuff when you have Malcolm Brown, who never really got a chance last year? You now drafted John Kelly, and you have Justin Davis on the team. I think that's when these guys can start becoming a little bit irrelevant and try to prove themselves. When the fourth quarter lead's already there, Gurley's already touched the ball 25 times. Get him out of the game and get these younger guys in there to run the clock down. So to me, that could actually hurt his fantasy relevance.
Exactly.
And obviously, he's still gonna be a top 2 guy. Don't get that. I'm saying it could go down from last season because their defense is so good.
Here's what I'm worried about too. Is I'm worried about the way they drafted John Kelly. We were all super high on John Kelly coming out of Tennessee, from college. Tennessee, not the Titans. But when he came out of there, we were all heavily recruiting this guy and being like, this is gonna be a stud. He's gonna be in the second round of a rookie draft. And then they drafted him to the Rams, so he's backing up Todd Gurley. Now, is this where he kind of eats into Todd Gurley's receptions? I'm not saying his rushing. John Kelly was known as receiving running back at Tennessee. Does he eat into Gurley's receptions?
By eat in, do you mean like 20, 25?
Right. Does he take 20, 25 receptions
because
away?
That's the thing. I think they're going to have the lead, so they're going to have the ball on offense a lot. And I think it's going to be a lot of handing off and a lot of dump down passes to kill the clock. But last year they didn't have that. Todd Gurley and Malcolm Brown, and that was it. Like, that was it. And they never gave Malcolm Brown a shot at all. But if they want to save Gurley and have him be the longevity of like a long-term career, you're going to have to start giving the ball to other guys. Again, not when you're down, not when you're losing and you need a big play, then yeah, Gurley stays in. But looking at their division and how the Rams should fare out this year with their defense, it's going to be a lot of touches going to their running back position, regardless if it's throwing or running. And I think they should mix in these other guys, and we're going to see the cream of the crop out of Malcolm Brown, Justin Davis, and John Kelly. I like John Kelly the most out of those 3 guys.
So do I.
So fantasy relevance, though, I just don't know how much they're going to give the ball. That's the same thing with James Conner with Pittsburgh, with Le'Veon Bell. Like, James Conner's a rookie, looked great at Pittsburgh in college, comes there, and they just never gave him the ball at all. So it's like, I just don't know if Sean McVay is one of those coaches. It's a one running back type of guy that just wants a workhorse and a bell cow and just gives him the ball, forever.
It's pretty rare these days.
Yeah.
Like, NFL teams just don't do that.
So if you have a guy like Gurley, eat it up. You're lucky.
Let's move on to the receivers, because I actually like this receiving group as a group. I like the core as a group.
Me too.
The one receiver listed is Brandon Cooks, who basically replaces Sammy Watkins, who left in free agency to go to Kansas City.
I think it's the same exact type of wide receiver.
Exactly.
I was kind of perplexed about that, because Brandon Cooks and Watkins, which one made more money? About the same, I thought. Or was Watson?
Yeah, I think they were both like
Watkins
around
was,
16 million, weren't they?
I don't know.
15, 16 million?
I'd have to look that up. No, I think Cooks was like 12. Maybe Cooks was a little bit cheaper. But what I'm hearing is Aaron Donald on the defense is holding out right now, not going to OTAs because he wants a contract, but they just paid Brandon Cooks and picked up his contract. So now it's one of those things where they need to figure out where this money's going. They just signed a whole bunch of guys. Didn't they sign Richard Sherman too?
No, he went to San Fran.
San Fran. Okay, so who do they get in their secondary, the Rams?
They got Aqib Talib, and they traded for Peters.
So now you're paying all these guys these contracts, and Aaron Donald has got to be one of the guys that should be getting paid here.
They brought in Ndamukong Suh too for that defensive line. So the
where's
whole
the money? Yeah,
the whole dream scenario was to pair Suh with Aaron Donald on the defensive line. They have to give Donald whatever he wants, because in my opinion, this Rams team right here is built to win right now. Like, they have a bigger window, okay, but they're all in this year. Like, their team is to win right now. So, in my opinion, give Donald what he wants. You have to figure it out later, and yeah, you may be over the cap and may have to have some casualties in the next season or two, but you got to do what you got to do to get Donald signed, because he's a difference maker.
I agree.
And that's what's going to put that defense over the top, and that's what's going to win you the division. I have the Rams winning this division easily.
I have them finishing 11-5.
And I have them going very deep into the playoffs, like maybe even the NFC Championship game, even up to the Super Bowl, because I think they're that loaded.
That's why you need to make sure that you keep Gurley healthy. So to me, I think the wide receiver shakes down as Who fantasy wise? Who's going to lead the receiving core?
That's
you have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. It could be any one of these three guys.
That's what I love about it. It could be any one of these guys. Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp. Any one of these guys could lead the team in receptions.
I think it goes Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. And
that Woods takes a step back?
I do, because I think that Watkins was just not. I don't know. I didn't love Watkins in that position. Everyone else loved it. I don't know. I don't know if Sammy Watkins is what we want him to be. And I think Brandon Cooks is the same. Like Brandon Cooks, he went crazy in New Orleans with Drew Brees as quarterback, but he didn't really do what he was supposed to do last year with Tom Brady. And they spread the ball out. The Rams are going to do the same thing. So I think Cooper Kupp's the number one just because of receptions in general. And then between Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks, it's a coin flip for me. In Dynasty, I'd rather have Cooks, but in a redraft, either one of them is okay.
Yeah, I agree. In Dynasty, I'm taking Cooks all day.
And
I'm taking Kupp. I think ahead of Woods in Dynasty as well.
Yeah, I agree. So what about tight end? To me, I'm waiting for Gerald Everett to take over this job. You have Tyler Higbee. Gerald Everett they drafted last season. It's going to be his second year now. I'm just waiting for Gerald Everett to find his way into this offense because I think he's a lot better than Tyler Higbee, but for some reason, Tyler Higbee is first on the depth chart. So it's, to me, I guess Gerald Everett's going to have to earn a spot in OTAs, training camp, and preseason to be fantasy relevant because right now in a redraft league, I don't know if he's draftable.
That's the thing with me, too. Gerald Everett, I'm probably not drafting him in a redraft. I think that he will overtake Tyler Higbee eventually on that depth chart. And probably I think by the start of the season. I think that he's going to prove it by the start of the season. He's a better tight end, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Than Higbee. I think he's going to end up taking him over, but I don't know how much fantasy relevance he'll have. Like, if you only have to start one tight end, or some leagues that I look at, that it's just a flex spot. Like, you don't even have to start a tight end.
Yeah.
So,
tight ends are a dying breed in fantasy. It's a lot of them are now being changed to, like you said, flex or even super flex. And if you can get a good tight end, which was only about 5 solid, really good tight ends, most of the people don't even care who they have as their tight end. They'll just throw anybody there. So after those top 5 guys are gone, yeah. So Gerald Everett, good luck. I mean, I honestly think he should be the starting tight end there week 1. So we'll see. I have them finishing 11-5. They also have the 5th toughest schedule against or for last season. The schedule they're facing this year. Last season they finished 134 and 122. So they're playing a lot of teams with winning records from last season.
I still think they'll be okay. They're built right now, so
yeah, I agree.
Barring any kind of catastrophic injury, I think they're going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on. Next in alphabetical order here is the Seattle Seahawks. They are what they are. I still think Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback. I don't think he's got no competition whatsoever behind him. So if Russell Wilson goes down, they're in big trouble. They're in deep, deep trouble.
You don't think Austin Davis or Alex Magoo kind of...
I like saying Alex Magoo. That's the only reason I'm going to even mention him. He's the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart, but I like saying Magoo.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's still going to finish to me as a top 5 guy. If anything, he finishes top 3 because he's going to have to do more. He's going to have to run a little bit more. They're going to be down, so he's going to be throwing a lot more. So things are looking up for Russell Wilson if he can stay healthy.
I did like what they did in the running game. I think that they didn't have an identity last year. They were just going through guys like it was just, everyone got a crack at it.
Okay, they draft Rashad Penny in the first round. I think it was a 27th overall pick for Seattle out of San Diego State. And then they come out and immediately say that he's a every down back. He's a 3-down back. He's this, he's that. We're going to throw to him. We're going to do this. Yeah, everything's gravy and everything's great. But the other guys that are behind him haven't got that much of a chance. I mean, they all got hurt. So that's their own fault. Not their own fault, but their own demise, basically. It's not because of a coach's decision. But you have Chris Carson, got hurt last year. Prosci's been hurt every year. Mike Davis, J.D. McKissick. They're all just a bunch of guys, but they all have had a little bit of flash where you can see them being a productive running back. So you just abandon all 4 of those guys and just give everything to Rashad Penny and pick 2 guys, maybe Penny and Carson or Penny and Prosci, and just move on from everyone?
So Prosci and McKissick are both strictly 3rd down backs. Like they're only receiving backs.
I think. McKissick's not going to make the...
You don't think McKissick's going to make it? For sure Mike Davis is making it. I think he proved himself to be a worthy backup.
And I think Chris Carson makes it. So to me, it's Penny, Carson, Davis.
McKissick goes, and you have Prosci who just cannot stay healthy. Like, he had a lot of promise coming out of Notre Dame, but he cannot stay healthy.
I'd almost get rid of Prosci and McKissick, put them both on the practice squad until injuries happen, and go with Penny, Carson, and Davis. That's plenty.
Yeah, I think that McKissick plays special teams, though, so they may hold on him just for that purpose. I don't think they put Prosci on special teams because the guy just can't stay healthy.
Fantasy relevance, Rashad Penny, though, where do you see him finishing overall for running backs for like a redraft or dynasty, however you want, for year 1? Can you see him squeezing into an RB1 back in, like a 11, 12th overall for running backs?
It's very possible. I have him in the top 15, so I think he'll be a high-end RB2 this year. He could squeeze into the top 12, but there's going to be a lot of change at that top 12 besides the top 5 guys that we always talk about. So you could see guys like him squeezing into the back end. I like Penny a lot, and if they're going to give him the opportunity to be a 3-down back, I like him even more.
He's going to have to learn how to block if he wants to be a 3-down back. So that's something that's number one. I'd be working with him because he does everything else. He can catch. He's very good running the ball. He stays healthy. The only thing is just his blocking ability, so they need to work on that in training camp.
And I think Chris Carson's a good handcuff if you do draft someone like Penny in a redraft.
Carson would be the second guy I would own.
Yes, Chris Carson is definitely a good handcuff in case Penny doesn't work out.
Okay. Wide receiver. This is where it gets a little, and when I say a little, I mean a lot sketchy.
And this is why I love Doug Baldwin even more this year, is because he's always been consistent. He's been a top 14 wide receiver the last 4 seasons. He's not a flashy name. He's not somebody that you look up and like, oh wow, Doug Baldwin's the number 1 receiver this week. But he's very consistent. He's very quietly consistent. And now look at the receivers that are behind him. No more Paul Richardson, so he basically has Tyler Lockett as the wide receiver 2, and the wide receiver 3, in my opinion, is Amara Darboh, who's moving into that number 3 spot because he's a second-year player now. I think he will kind of catapult into that number 3 spot, maybe even jump over Lockett for the number 2, but that's all Baldwin has to battle for
okay. Here's
targets.
Here's the opposition of that argument. There's no one else there. You double team Doug Baldwin. There's no Jimmy Graham anymore. There's no Richardson. So if you double team Baldwin, who is Russell Wilson going to throw to? Now Baldwin's drawing the safety over the top of him, so which has never happened before. You've never double teamed Doug Baldwin, let's be honest. He's a year older now, so he's, I don't know, maybe 29, 30-ish, right around there. Okay, so he's double teamed. Do you think he's still going to be a productive wide receiver top 14 being double teamed every single game?
I think he'll be fine.
Do you really?
Because I think the way Russell Wilson runs, and that's the whole point to this, he's not a pocket passer. He scrambles around. He'll take off and run. So if you got Baldwin double teamed,
I like Wilson more.
Then Wilson's going to run for an 8-yard gain and run out of bounds.
Right, and that's why I like Wilson more. I don't like Doug Baldwin more.
I'm just saying you can't double team Baldwin all game long because Wilson's just going to run if he has the open opportunity, or he's going to dump off to Rashad Penny, or even dump off to
don't say Nick Vannett or Matt Dixon,
Procise or McKissick, whichever one of the guys makes it.
Okay, well I don't know. To me, Doug Baldwin took a little bit of a hit because of everyone they lost in free agency, and they didn't replace anybody. They could have easily went out and drafted a wide receiver, and you could have got a DJ Moore or in a second round Cortland Sutton, or you know what I mean. You could have got somebody. There was plenty of guys that went 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, and they had a ton of 6th and 7th round picks, and they didn't waste any on anybody that was significant.
I still think they're going to bring in a veteran receiver. There's still guys out there that are veterans. You have Des Bryant, you have Jeremy Maclin. There's a couple of guys out there that are on the older end, and they're not wide receiver 1s anymore, but if they bring a guy like that in, I think it'll help out their team tremendously.
I agree.
They should be able to get him pretty cheap because it's so far into the offseason.
If they go get Dez, I think that would be the best thing they could possibly do. Then Tyler Lockett is the number 3, Dez is number 2, Doug Baldwin's number 1. All of a sudden now your offense is right back in there to where it used to be.
And they won't have to overpay for these guys.
Correct.
And I just wanted to say Damorie Stringfellow because it's a fun name to say. He's one of the wide receivers.
That sounds like Key and Peele when they did that college thing when it was like, they were saying all those funny names.
Yeah. Like McCringle and stuff. Yeah, all the names they were saying. Yeah, that was pretty actually.
Yeah,
that was a good
Damorie Stringfellow.
Just to round out tight end, I think they brought in Ed Dixon to be a blocking tight end. The only kind of relevance he's had is when Greg Olsen got hurt last year, and he really wasn't even a tight end 1 when that happened. So I think they have Nick Vannett is going to be very touchdown dependent. He's not going to be a guy that gets you 60 or 70 receptions. He's going to be a guy they're going to look at the goal line because the guy's 6'5".
Who scores more fantasy points, Ed Dixon or Nick Vannett?
Vannett will. He'll outscore Dixon in tight end fantasy points.
Okay,
I had that with confidence.
I'll take your word for it since you own Nick Vannett. So
he's huge, and obviously they let 2 guys go. They let Jimmy Graham go, and they let Luke Wilson go.
Did they believe in him?
Well, obviously, why they let both those guys go?
Why'd they sign Ed Dixon then?
For their offensive line.
And Will Disley.
They drafted Will Disley. He's a blocking tight end too.
Whatever you wanted to sell yourself, go ahead.
I'm just letting you know the
Shoot your shot, Jay.
All right, so next on the list.
Seattle I have finishing 6-10 at the best 7-9, and that was being very, very nice to them. If they don't do anything else, 7-9, they have the 5th hardest schedule in the NFL. So they're not doing them any favors.
It ain't good, Cuppy.
No, it ain't good. So Russell Wilson, he's going to have a monster year, him and Penny. Other than that, I'm not very high on that offense.
I still like Baldwin. I'll stick with Baldwin.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to San Francisco 49ers here. They got their new shiny toy last year, Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback.
And another shiny toy.
They did. They went out in free agency this last offseason and got Jerick McKinnon at running back.
So Jimmy Garoppolo, all of a sudden he's a hero. He's Tom Brady light to everyone now, and he's like the new sexy pick for all dynasty startups, and
Super handsome.
very good looking. But I didn't like that he was in a San Jose Sharks jersey, and they played the Golden Knights, and he led them out into the ice. And what happened? We smacked them up left and right. So
Yeah, we
maybe
did.
he's bad luck, and maybe he goes winless this entire season. But I don't see that happening. San Francisco. Okay, so you have Jimmy Garoppolo behind him. Not much. C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. That's Chris Mullins' grandson, maybe. I don't know. Never heard of him. But no, Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you see Garoppolo possibly? This is very, very loosely finishing in the top half of a QB1, like QB6 or higher this year.
With
They're gonna be down a lot of games.
With the pieces he has there, I'm going to say no.
But
I see him finishing as a top 10, but I don't see him finishing top 6.
I could see him finishing in top 12, 10. Yeah, I'd say between like 7 and 10 range.
He has good receivers there, but he doesn't have anybody great. He doesn't have that
That
clear-cut
might
number one wide receiver.
That might benefit them, though, because the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season, if you don't really have a superstar receiver, defenses are going to be filling you out of where he's going to go. Who's going to be his favorite target? Is it going to be Pierre Garçon, who he hasn't played with because he was hurt when, by the time they got Jimmy Garoppolo,
Right.
Garçon was already done. So he hasn't played at all with Pierre Garçon. So who is his favorite target? It looked like it was Goodwin from last season.
Well, but Goodwin's not really a
Wide receiver 1.
not only that, but he's more of like a deep threat guy.
Right.
Like, he's not a guy that's going to put up like 8 receptions, 9 receptions a game. He's like going to be the one that gets you like, 6 targets, and he might catch 3 or 4 of them, and they're mostly going to be deep balls. He can catch if they spread him out wide and don't run him deep. He can catch.
But see, I think
Don't get me wrong.
that's where Aldrick Robinson fits in there.
That's their deep threat guy.
He's their deep threat guy. So now
Correct.
I see it being Pierre Garçon finishing as a number 1 because of PPR, point per reception, and then Marquise Goodwin I think finishes as number 2 with Trent Taylor real close behind Goodwin, and then the number 4 spot you have Dante Pettis, you have Max McCaffrey, you have Aldrick Robinson, Richie James. Which one of those guys, if you had to, out of that bunch, McCaffrey?
Pettis, in my opinion.
Okay, I agree. I think Pettis and then Aldrick Robinson finishes the 5.
And
Both of those guys might not be fantasy relevant this year.
And not to gloss right over Jerick McKinnon, but I really, when they signed Jerick McKinnon, I thought they were still going to add more pieces, whether it be through the draft or whether it be bringing another free agent.
I forgot. I jumped right over McKinnon. My apologies.
And in my opinion, I think McKinnon might be the real deal now. I really didn't have any faith. I was like, okay, just everyone don't panic because they're going to bring somebody else in and it's going to be like boom, just like that, it's gone.
You didn't see
They didn't bring anybody else in.
What about the contract though? They gave him he got paid the most of any free agent running back.
I understand that, but I thought they were going to bring in somebody else to kind of not compete with him, but to kind of split time with him. McKinnon has said from day one that he wants to be an every down back. I just didn't think he had it in him. And the jury's still out on that, whether he's got it in him or not. But the Niners paid him like he was a down back.
But I like that they do have Matt Breida. We still haven't seen what they have in Joe Williams. Obviously, he was hurt all last season and didn't do anything when he was healthy. So you have Breida and Joe Williams. I think is a good 2 guys that can kind of it can kind of give McKinnon a rest. If you can put in Breida at the goal line a couple times, you can maybe hammer him down on 3rd and 1. Stuff like that. So I think McKinnon will have a big year. I really do, because I think they're going to be down a lot, and McKinnon loves to catch, and that's how they used him in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So we know he can catch. So if you're telling me he's going to get 50 to 65-ish receptions and get the bulk load of the carries, he's going to be a running back 1. He's going to be a top 12 running back
If
this
he
season.
gets that, then yeah, he has to be.
Yeah. So I love McKinnon going forward. He will be drafted very high in redraft league, so the hype train's getting a little out of control because of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo's hype's getting a lot out of control too, because he's going in like second rounds of dynasty drafts. We just had a super flex where he went in the second round.
Second round, like the 5th pick. No, it was that back end of the second round. So it was a 14-team league, so he was drafted at like number 26, I think, overall. Okay, and then tight end.
Tight end, George Kittle. He seemed to use him a lot down the stretch, especially when they went on their little 5-game winning streak. I believe that kind of comes from the New England state of mind, because they use their tight ends a lot in New England. And that's where he kind of learned.
Right.
But it looked like they had a pretty good rapport. So he's going to be someone they look for in the end zone. And I think that he's not just an end zone threat. I think he's a guy that can get you some receptions as well.
Yeah, I think Kittle has a big season. If he does stay healthy, he could easily squeak into the top 6 of tight ends, because you have the 3 or 4 big names with Evan Ingram, Gronkowski, you have Ertz. After that.
That's what I mean. Like to have the 12th tight end, which is the 12th best tight end, you're only looking at
50 catches.
400 to 500 yards receiving and like 40 to 50 catches.
All right.
And some touchdowns mixed in there, obviously. So it's nowhere near what the top 3 tight ends are going to be. Those guys are in a world and a league of their own. But if you're a top 12 tight end that you have to start a tight end, that's what you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at under 600 yards, under 500 yards.
Kelsey was the other guy I couldn't think of.
Yeah.
Kelsey,
Ertz, and Gronk.
Yes, and then maybe Evan Ingram, maybe if you're putting him up there already.
I think he's going to lose some touches because everyone coming back healthy.
I agree. And then after George Kittle, it's Garrett Selleck. Doesn't really scare me much, so George Kittle should have another big season. So if you actually look at the offense, even though it's not huge names, I think they're going to have a lot of production. They're going to be down a lot of games. They're
Fantasy relevant, yeah.
Fantasy relevant for sure. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. McKinnon's going to get touches, and all 3 receivers that we just named with the Taylor, Goodwin, and Pierre Garçon are going to get a ton of volume, and so is Kittle. So sometimes you draft guys that are on bad teams for a reason because you know they're going to be down. The garbage time is amazing. That's when you make a comeback. The guy maybe has 2 or 3 catches on the entire day, and all of a sudden, fourth quarter, and they're dinking dunking all over, and he gets another 4 catches in one quarter because they're down. So a lot of times,
and that goes for everybody on the team.
A lot of times that pans out well to take guys that are on bad teams. And now, so let's say you got a guy on the Rams, and the Rams already have the entire division wrapped up. Well, week 15, 16, you're going into your playoffs, and you have guys like Brandon Cooks and these guys that now get benched, or Gurley. Maybe he gets benched week 15 and 16 because they already have it locked up. That's what scares me about guys that are on good teams. It's risky when you come playoff time.
Last year, that's what happened.
That's what I'm saying.
Gurley last,
he could have got the rushing title, and they benched him, and he didn't get the rushing title, and Hunt ended up getting it because Hunt ended up playing.
Right.
So
for 1 quarter only, but it was enough to get the rushing title.
Just enough to get the rushing title, so just beware there.
I do have San Fran finishing second in this division. I have it Rams, Niners,
really,
Seahawks, and then Cardinals.
I have it almost the same. I have Rams, then I have Rams, Seattle, San Fran, Arizona, but I have the exact same record. I have 6-10 or 7-9. For the San Francisco 49ers, I also have the same. The only reason why I might put the San Francisco 49ers ahead of Seattle is because they have the 15th toughest schedule, which is nowhere near what Seattle was, which was the 5th toughest. So they have a little bit easier of a schedule than Seattle, and I kind of put them on the same, tier of where they're going to finish. So I guess if you want to sell me on that, I'll give the edge to San Francisco just because they have an easier schedule. They might squeak out 1 or 2 more wins. But I think the bottom 3 teams, Seattle, San Fran, and Arizona, all finish within like 2 to 3 wins. It's all going to be right there at the bottom with Rams running away with the division.
Well, I just don't see Seattle or Arizona having a chance at the playoffs this year, where I see San Fran could possibly squeak into a wild card, but it would be a stretch. But I could see San Fran even competing for a wild card, where I don't see Seattle and Arizona.
When you get a chance, look at San Fran's Fran's schedule
and see who
they play. Can you put it up there real quick, or you don't have it?
I can.
Like,
if you want to talk for a second.
I thought the exact same thing, and I originally wrote down what I thought their record would be. Then I went and looked at who they play, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to look through their schedule, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give them, if they have any chance to win the game, I'll give them a maybe or a win. And I just couldn't. There was like a 6-game stretch where I just couldn't find where they're going to win a game. It was very, very sketchy. Where are you looking at there?
NFL home, and then I'm going to go and just pull up their schedule if I can.
Okay.
Click on
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I just think that everyone is, like you just said, the hype train is out of control with Jimmy Garoppolo and with Jerick McKinnon. And if those 2 guys don't just annihilate, they're going to have a tough season. So here you go. So I'm going to go through right now. Week 1 at Minnesota. Are they winning that game?
Probably lost.
No. Okay. At home against Detroit.
That's 50-50.
Okay, so give them a win. Okay. So another 1-1. Now they play at Kansas City.
I think they could beat Kansas City.
In Kansas City.
I think they could.
All right, now you're okay. So 2-1, I guess, for you, not me. At the Chargers.
That's a loss.
Okay. Versus Arizona Cardinals in San Francisco.
That's a win for me.
At Green Bay.
That's a loss.
Against the Rams.
I believe that's a loss.
Okay. At Arizona.
I think they'll sweep Arizona.
Okay. Oakland Raiders.
This is another game that's a toss-up for me. I think they could win it.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's 5.
Against the Giants.
They're beating the Giants. That's 6.
Okay, so they played 10 straight games right there, and you have how many wins?
They're 6-4.
Already?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, then they go on a bye. Then they play at Tampa.
I think that's a loss.
Okay.
So 6-5.
At Seattle? They're not sweeping Seattle and...
Okay, so 6-6 then.
Okay, then they play Denver.
At home, I'll take San Fran. That's 7-6.
Okay, Seattle.
They win the one in Seattle. That's 8-6.
The Bears.
They beat the Bears. That's 9-6.
And they're at Rams.
And they lose at the Rams. That's 9-7.
I don't know. The 9-7, the only two that I would change that I do not agree with. There's no way they're winning at Kansas City. So let's get that right off the board. So they're 8-8 for me.
Okay, so that's why I just said that. I said they're
Okay,
going to
so
be somewhere around 8-8 or 9-7.
Okay, I think 7-9 is where they're at. But okay, I mean, I guess maybe they potentially squeak in, but they need some help. I mean, you're picking them to beat Detroit and you're picking them to beat Kansas City in Kansas City. Those are two wins to me that are completely up in the air. So
Kansas City's not the same team they were last year.
yeah, but still
They really
playing
are.
Kansas City in Kansas City is very tough. And you have a bunch of guys that haven't even gelled together. They haven't played. Pierre Garçon hasn't even played with Garoppolo yet. McKinnon's brand new to the offense. Garoppolo, he's brand new to the offense. Like I don't know. And I don't think the defense is at best, they're average at best.
Right. I
So they're going to have to win a lot of shootouts. Anything else that you did want to add to the NFC West?
No, there's nothing actually I wanted to add to the NFC West. Who's the next one we're going to do?
Next one should be an AFC. And I believe we did North. But I don't know. You can check for me. Are you checking?
I'm checking.
Next.
It's going to be
I know you're going to do this to me.
AFC North.
AFC North will be next. I was correct. So we will see you not next week, but the week after because we take a week off.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll see you then. Crack a cold one for now.
Let's crack it.
And hope and pray that San Francisco wins all these tough games that Jay says they're going to win.
Or that Travis comes back.
Or that Travis comes back. Which one's going to happen first? Crack it.
Crack it.
No chance. 9-7? You're no chance.